everyone. Welcome to the Bridge. We're glad you're here. Worship with us.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, thou worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me. Let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, now worship your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness, I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, now worship your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come. Still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before.
song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Oh, Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. So open up my eyes and wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Worthy of every song we could ever sing. Worthy up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me, oh, in your love to those around me. And holy, there is none like you, there is none beside you. So open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Holy, there is no one like you, there is none beside you. So open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me.
I fall down upon the ground, press my face against the earth, till my heart it rises over my head. And as the weed it bows down low, when the autumn winds blow, I kneel before the one I love. Find me grateful, find me thankful, find me on my knees. Find me dreaming, find me singing, find me lost in your grace. Like the dust that you first held in a garden where you knelt, pull me up against your face again, till the breath of your hope fill the depths of my soul. Till all I know is I've been found by love. Find me grateful, find me thankful, find me on my knees.
All right. Welcome back. Welcome to the bridge. It's good to see everyone, see everybody here this morning. Hope that you're doing well, meeting in your home groups, connecting and feeling connected. If you're not connected to a home group, contact us if you want to find a group to connect with. My doctor, I've got this doctor, he's obsessed with hitting his patient on the knees. He really gets a kick out of it. Because they do that thing with the little rubber hammer on their knees, and it makes them kick. He gets a kick out of it. Most doctors do that. Hey, before we get started, I want to let you know there is a group started by Matt Adams here in town in Allegan that is working to beautify the city. It's just a group that's going out, and right now we are edging all of the sidewalks in the city of Allegan. Matt is an amazing guy and has just decided that this is something that we can do that can really help the image of the city, and he's already started, gotten probably a half mile or more of the sidewalks done, and it's looking amazing. But he's always looking for volunteers. So if you're interested in that, we're going to put up the contact information and all of the details on our Facebook page. So watch for that. It's basically Mondays. He's out there Monday evenings, Thursday evenings, and Saturday mornings. So if you want to go out, just kind of give a couple hours of your time to help beautify the city of Allegan, to serve the city and love the city, that would be a great way to do that. So look for that. So a couple of weeks ago, we started a new series called "This Is How They'll Know," and based on the verse in John 13:35, when Jesus says, "This is how people will know that you're my disciples, that you love each other." That is the defining characteristic for us, and so we've been looking at 1 Corinthians 13, which is the love chapter, to help us define what love looks like. If love is supposed to identify us, we should know what it looks like. And in it, Paul tells us that no matter what else we do, in 1 Corinthians 13, Paul says, no matter what else we do in our lives, no matter how much we know or do or give or believe, it's all worthless if there isn't love in it. And so Paul goes on to describe what that love is, and we saw a couple of weeks ago that love is kind, and is patient and kind. And then last week we looked at how love does not envy. And this week we come to the statement in 1 Corinthians 13:4, and Paul tells us that love is not proud. Now, just to clarify, there are different kinds of pride in English. There's different meanings to that word. Like, there's taking pride in your work. There's taking pride in your appearance. You know, if you play on a team, playing sports, you have pride in how you play and how you conduct yourselves. Those are good things, right? Those can be really good things. We want to take pride in how we look, but the pride that Paul's talking about and pride in our appearance, pride in our work can fall into a negative meaning or negative way. Because there's pride that cancels out love. The word that Paul uses here in this verse is a word that means to inflate or to be puffed up or to bear oneself loftily, right? So this pride, when he says love is not proud, it's about puffing yourself up, especially at the expense of others. The New American Standard translation of this verse uses the word arrogance instead of pride. It says love is not arrogant. So pride can be a really ugly thing, and it can make us do ugly things. It can also keep us from doing the things that we should do. We can be so prideful that we are not willing to do the things that we know we really should do or that need to be done. And so today I want to look at a story in the Gospels. There's a story there. It's a story of a loving mother and her two wonderful boys, Jimmy and Johnny. They're her pride and joy, but the story is about their prideful, selfish ploy to gain power and prestige in high governmental positions at the expense of their closest friends. The story that I'm referring to, of course, is about the apostles John and James, the brothers, the sons of Zebedee, and their mom, apparently the wife of Zebedee. This story about them is recorded in both the Gospels of Matthew and Mark. Now, Mark is discreet enough not to mention that it's their mom's idea, but Matthew's hardcore. Like, Matthew's that hardcore tax collector guy. He just tells it like it is, and he takes no prisoners. He lays it all out. And this story highlights how pride can make us do things that we wouldn't normally do, and the negative effect that pride can have on our relationships. And really, it kind of highlights why Paul says that love is not proud. So, Matthew 20, verses 20 through 24, it says, "Then the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus with her sons. She knelt respectfully to ask a favor. 'What is your request?' he asked. She replied, 'In your kingdom, please let my two sons sit in places of honor next to you, one on your right hand and the other on your left.' But Jesus answered by saying to them, 'You don't know what you're asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering that I am about to drink?' 'Oh, yes,' they replied, 'we are able,' if we were in any doubt that there was arrogance in this. Jesus told them, 'You will indeed drink from my bitter cup, but I have no right to say who will sit on my right or my left. My Father has prepared those places for the ones he has chosen.' And when the 10 other disciples heard what James and John had asked, they were indignant." Now, it's hard to fault James and John. You know, they're playing for keeps, and so they're trying to get their spot, and so they break out the big guns, the mominator, right? And like, who can withstand a mom's request? But at their core, James and John are just being selfish and greedy and prideful. They're trying to line jump the other disciples and get their positions in the kingdom before anybody else can. And they're looking for the places of the highest honors, to sit on the kings. Jesus is the king. To sit on his right and left-hand side. It's like being the vice president or the prime minister. It's the highest position. It would be vice president and secretary of state, or speaker of the house. Like, they want to be the top two people in Jesus' kingdom. Pride has canceled out their love because their focus is on themselves. In love, when we have love, our focus is on other people. But pride cancels that out. That's why love is not proud. And remember how last week we said that envy comes from believing a lie. The lie is that I need something else in order to be happy, and I need maybe you not to have something that you have in order for me to be happy. It's the same way that pride is also comes from believing a lie, right? And the lie that we believe with pride, there's two things. We either mistake God's goodness in our lives for his favoritism, that God likes us more than other people, that's why I have good things, and good things happen to me. Or it's mistaking God's goodness in our lives for our own success, that whatever I have that I earned, that I have gotten. And this is big in our culture. Like, we've built our culture on it. We say things like, he's a self-made man, or I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps, as if our success has any is only about ourselves and isn't really a gift from God. Because James tells us every good gift comes down from heaven. And while hard work is a good thing, in moderation, we can mistake the blessings that we have, as being our own success. Pride is focused on me at the expense of others, including God. Pride is a conceited superiority. You remember back in Genesis, Joseph, Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat Joseph, not Joseph, Jesus' stepdad. So Joseph has this dream where the sun and the moon and the stars are surrounding him and bowing down to him. And by the way, those were his mom and dad and his brothers. But pride, this is pride. It's imagining, it's seeing yourself as the center of the universe and everything else in the universe bowing down to you. I mean, that's the dream was a prophetic dream about what was going to happen, but it was also revealing Joseph's heart, that he felt like he was the center of the universe. And a lot of us, even though we might not put it in such stark terms, we really feel like we're the center of the universe and everything else revolves around us. And that's pride. Pride is a part of our mind that tells us that we're better and greater and more important than and more deserving than and more qualified than somebody else or anyone else. And here Jesus is thinking to himself, he's got to be thinking, I've spent the last 3.5 years with these people, and I still have 2 guys and their mom, apparently, who still don't get it at all. And that's 2 out of 12 of my disciples don't get it. That's like 17% of my disciples who are striking out. And so Jesus goes over to the other 10, like he's just got to be so frustrated with these 2. So he goes to the other 10 to kind of process. And he's like, can you believe it? Like, can you believe what's going on? But remember, the last verse that we read, it says, when the other 10 heard about it, they were indignant. They're no better than James or John. They've got the same thing. Jesus goes over and says, guys, guess what? James and John were trying to get the best positions in the kingdom, the best seats in the house. Can you believe it? They really missed the point, didn't they? Waiting for the other 10 to go, wow, I can't believe that they did that. We should never do that. But instead they said, man, that stinks. I can't believe that they would try to pull something like that. And Jesus is like, I know, right? And they're like, the other 10 are like, yeah, I'm supposed to be on your right hand, or I'm supposed to be on your left hand. James and John are real jerks. When I'm in charge, I'm going to show them. And Jesus just has to be like, like, it should be so deflating. Like, you are missing the point. He's like, okay, time out. Everybody take a knee. Everybody circle up. Everybody take a knee. We have to review this. And so then we go into the next verse 25 in Matthew 20. It says, but Jesus called them together. Everybody come on in. And he said, you know that the rulers of this world lord it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But listen to verse 26. But among you, it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. Jesus is saying pride only works in the cultural economy of this broken world. This prideful lording of authority, of trying to position ourselves over other people so that we can control, or that we can boss people around, or we can be puffed up and have everybody think about how awesome we are or whatever. He's like, that doesn't work. Pride gets you nowhere in my kingdom, he's saying. If you want to get ahead in my kingdom, start looking out for each other. Start serving each other. It's not all about you. And Jesus' whole life was was an example of service because first of all, it's who he is. Jesus doesn't say, well, leaders should serve, and then he doesn't do it. He's telling us to do that because he wants us to be like him. And Jesus, our God, is humble and serves us. Remember last week we said that God rises to show you compassion. He's eager to help you. He rises to show you compassion. He serves us because that's who he is. And he wants us to be like him. And secondly, humble service is what's valued in the kingdom. It's one of the commodities of the kingdom. Just like joy is a commodity of the kingdom, humility and service are commodities. They're what's valuable. They're currency in the kingdom. But his disciples, much like some of us, struggled with pride. And they heard what he was saying. They saw what he was doing, but they struggled to internalize that message because their pride got in the way. And that's what led up to Jesus' striking example of humility and service to his disciples later in his ministry, one night at dinner. And I think we talked about this not long ago, but it bears repeating because it's such a powerful example. But before we read the text, I want to set the stage that Jesus was a rabbi. He's the rabbi of this group, and we cannot overstate the status that a rabbi still holds, but that a rabbi held in that culture at that time. The honor and privilege that position held in Israel. A rabbi was the guest of honor everywhere that he went. And I say he because at that time there were only male rabbis. I'm not trying to be insensitive. They were all just men. But he would have been revered far beyond anything that we have in our culture. Like he would have been so respected and so held up as an example everywhere that he went. And every rabbi had disciples. That's what a rabbi did. He was a teacher, and his disciples were his students. They were the universities of the day. And when a rabbi called people to be his disciples, he wasn't just saying, come and learn what I know. When a rabbi called a disciple, he was saying, I think you have what it takes to be just like me. I want you to learn to be like me and to do what I do. Very much different than a student-professor relationship in our culture. When a disciple followed a rabbi, it was to become just like the rabbi. It was the life goal for every disciple to imitate exactly who the rabbi was and what the rabbi did. Disciples watched everything that their rabbi did and tried to do it that way. And I mean everything, not just Bible knowledge, but they would look at what the rabbi ate. They would look at how he drank. They would look at how he slept, what time he got up, what his schedule was. They even looked at like how and when he used the bathroom. Like everything they wanted to imitate. They wanted to be an exact replica of their rabbi. And because of this, disciples rarely left their rabbi's side because they don't want to miss anything. They wanted to see the whole thing. And so that's where you may have heard, there's a common blessing or greeting to a disciple that says, may you be covered in the dust of your rabbi. And what that is it's a wish or a hope for that disciple that they would be walking so closely with their rabbi all the time, learning from him, that the dust that the rabbi kicked up on the road would get on your clothes because that's how closely you're following your rabbi. So, having said all that, if anybody had the right to be proud and prideful, it was a rabbi because that's how they were treated. And so that's what makes this scene in John 13 so shocking and so scandalous when it happened. So there's a dinner where Jesus and all his disciples are gathered in John 13, starting in verse 3. It said, Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that had been wrapped around him. Now, again, this takes some context. We have to remember that at this time, there was no pavement on the streets. There might have been some stone streets, but for the most part, they're dirt streets. And they would have been dusty and dirty, and the main mode of transportation, other than your feet, were camels and donkeys and horses. And I don't know if you've had much time around camels and donkeys and horses, but they poop a lot. And so after a day of walking on the same streets as these camels and horses and donkeys, and you came into dinner at somebody's house, somebody had to wash those feet because they're probably pretty nasty. And so none of the 12 wanted to do it because they were too prideful. Because ordinarily the job would go to a servant or the lowest person in the house. And so they're thinking, if I wash somebody else's feet, here, then I will lose my position. I'll identify myself as the lowest person because that's who would do that job, and I don't want to be considered the lowest person in here, right? Because in the world system, low people are low and high people are high. And they're still operating in this world system instead of Jesus' kingdom. They still don't get it. And so Jesus, the rabbi, gave them another greater example to follow. He's saying, my kingdom does not follow the system of this world. In my kingdom, leaders serve. In my kingdom, leaders help. The way to get ahead in the kingdom, in Jesus' kingdom, is to lower yourself. Not to try to raise yourself up, not to try to push your way to the top. So Jesus is saying, he's showing us you can put that false pride aside. It's okay for you to do this now because I did it first. And remember, a disciple's desire is to be exactly like his rabbi, right? They want to do everything exactly like their rabbi. And so Jesus gets up from the table. He takes off his outer garments, so basically just exposing himself. He would have been kind of in his shorts, kind of maybe his boxers. And he gets up and he takes on the role of a servant. And so his disciples want to be just like him, so now they're obligated. They are now, to follow his example, must serve everyone else, right? That's what's happening in this story. They want to be just like him. He says, now you can be last and you can wash each other's feet. You can take the lowly spot because when you do that, you'll be just like me. And I've said before, I don't think that we literally have to wash people's feet. I think that's a cool exercise, but honestly, it can be a cop-out because washing our feet doesn't have the same cultural reasons that they had back then. Washing each other's feet is just about serving each other and not having to try to hold a high position. It's about being okay with lowering myself and not being prideful. Jesus is demonstrating a principle for us. Humility and service in the kingdom are not signs of immaturity and weakness. Service, lowering ourselves, is actually a sign of maturity and leadership in the kingdom. Love is not proud because love serves. Leaders serve. Love puts others before itself. And so, having heard all this, I have some questions that I want us to process together this morning. The first one, I'd like people just in your groups here to take a minute and talk about a time in your life, maybe when you think, this is not to be prideful, because that's what we're going against, but I just want us to kind of remember maybe things that that might have happened in our lives, when a time when in your life when you needed to be the bigger, more mature person and metaphorically washed someone else's feet. When you had to humble yourself and serve them because that's what it meant to be the bigger person. And then number 2, is there a situation currently going on in my life where I need to do this? Where I need to humble myself like this? Has there been an argument? Is there an ongoing feud? Is there a broken relationship where you need to be the person who gets up from the table and wraps a towel around yourself and washes someone else's feet? Because that's what it means to look like Jesus. Is it worth doing that to end the argument, to mend the relationship, to bring reconciliation? Because we are called to be ministers of reconciliation. And then third, in what area of my thinking or beliefs is pride stopping me from demonstrating love to the people around me? And that might start off as a private internal conversation, because it might take us a minute to process through that. But if you want to share that in the group, that would be great too. Love is not proud. So let's destroy pride in our lives by imitating our rabbi and graciously and humbly serving the people around us. Amen. So let's pray before we end. So Father, we ask that you would help us to kill pride in our lives, that we would destroy it, that we would get rid of it, because love is not proud, and we want to be loving. We want to be love to the people around us. And we thank you that you are love, and so we know that you are not proud. You are not boastful. You do not lord it over us, but you are kind and gracious and generous with us, and that you long to serve us as we serve you. Help us to learn to be like you. Help us to learn to be like our rabbi, to imitate him, to be just like him, to try to figure out all the ways that he lived his life and try to put that into our context, into our life, to be Jesus where we are, so that the world can know and the world can come back to you. The people around us can come back to you. Amen. So good to be with you. I love you all. There's nothing that you can do about it. I hope you have a great week, and we will see you real soon. Bye-bye.